Let's take it back, Paul. You're born and bred in Leeds.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about the music growing up in Leeds at that time.
Well, in Leeds, it's always been a sort of, a combination of different things. But my first contact with music, aside from sort of, listening to the radio as a child, because the radio was always on in our house, was friends of mine at school. Everybody was copying, the Street Sounds electro compilations. Yeah. Everyone was copying these tapes and giving each other the tapes, and I heard those, and I mean, they blew my mind. I'd never heard music that made. I can't even put it into words how some of that music made me feel, and the combination of different things on those compilations would be quite vast. So you'd go from like a Run DMC record. Like Sucker MCs, which is I think it's just a DMX drum machine and them doing their thing on top of it. And then it'd go to, like a Cybertron record, early Juan Atkins and Rick Davis. So the scope was really wide. So what we were being exposed to on those compilations was a real spectrum of different sounds and influences. It wasn't just, one thing in a box. And that's really key to the whole thing. Well, key to Special Requests, but wider than that, just key to everything that we do, really, because it's the British way generally is a sort of a grab bag of different influences, and especially as the music, as it went through hardcore and into early jungle and beyond, things like street soul was such an influence, and maybe you don't feel that so much these days, but it is in there. But all the different things that went into those compilations, absolutely opened me up and just made me absolutely intent on hearing more and more of the music. And so that led on to just getting a little bit older and then buying records. And then I was doing work experience when I was 15 at Crash Records in Leeds. And then bizarrely, we're talking about 25 years later, the guy that owned Crash Records at the time, I ended up renting his house just by coincidence. So it's strange how the tentacles of dance music are. But he was, at the time, he was also, I think he was funding a record label called Basic Records, and they put out Ital Rockers, Ital's Anthem, and they put out a record called Soul Thunder by Juno, and then they put out a record called Pressure by Ability 2, which
Bad
is
boy tune.
In it. Oh, what a tune.
Big shout out to Irish Steppers, Mark.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just going to say, home of Sub-Dub, home of Irish Steppers, home of Simon, who had the record shop as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is nuts, really.
Yeah.
What was your first experience of going out raving? What rave did you go to, first of all?
The first one I ever went to was called The Gallery, and that was insane. I mean, it was just like, a club with a literally a gallery looking over onto the main dance floor, a bar where nobody bought anything to drink at all. Everyone was on the bar, and it was absolutely insane. Everyone's rubbing Vicks vapor rub on each other's shoulders and all that carry on.
I've seen that.
It was
before.
out of hand.
Amnesia House from back in the day.
Yeah.
That would have been Coventry, one of the places that you would have seen that.
Yeah.
Paul, we're going to actually. I want to play Hackney Parrot, the special request VIP.
Okay.
Just to set it in people's minds, and then we're going to go back. We're going to play some of your influences, your jungle influences, and talk about a little bit about how you kind of came to that, because you're originally you play house, right?
Yeah, house
predominantly,
and a lot of techno, yeah.
And a lot of techno. So out of listening to all of that, 2012, and then how did you kind of come to that point of going, okay, I want to make kind of a jungle influence record? How did that happen?
Well, what had happened is, throughout, the more pirate radio that I listened to, there was one guy in Leeds. He's still about. You probably know him, Shock.
Okay.
Shock was the guy. He was on all these various different pirate stations in throughout the Leeds area, and Bradford and a few others. And I'd kept hearing the same voice across these different stations. And over the years, he played so many different genres. So you'd hear him playing banging sort of European techno, pretty, 140, 150 beats per minute, really frantic stuff. And then he'd be playing dread bass somewhere else, and he'd be playing, the jungle that a lot of people associate him with. But his tastes were quite wide, and it later transpired once I got to know him. I was like, oh yeah, he was in. I think he was 3 years above me in the same school. So, and he knew my brother. And it's a very small world, as we find out day after day.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. So basically, fast forward to 2000, it was before the Special Request records came out. It was a few years before that I started to sort of delve in properly. And what happened is I got a little bit sort of frustrated with with what I was surrounded by at the time. A lot of the work that I was doing in house and techno, as much as I was loving it and loving the music, but I was in this management situation where I had a big team, and it was all a bit of a circus. And then I sort of gradually became, I was like, what?
What the fuck?
I was going to say I'm allowed to swear,
you
but
can say
you've
that,
just done it for me.
Yeah.
So
what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. So that happened, and I was just thinking, what am I doing? I'm trying to pursue such a narrow band of things here, and I'd always made various types of music, but I thought, actually, I'm gonna concentrate my efforts on perfecting one particular thing that has always been there for me, and I started to really, properly make jungle tracks, and I worked out like a very old technique for it, which is mono triggering. Where you put all the breaks, you time them up, but you assign them to each key on the keyboard, but you're triggering them by mono. So every time you press a key, it cuts off the other one, and it's just that simple idea that I just sort of realised how to get it to roll. And
what was your
what
record was kind of your influence for that?
Oh, God.
Or was there a few that you thought, yeah, I love that one?
So many. So many of yours, so many,
Thank you.
God, the Remark stuff, like listening to Remark and thinking, what? Yeah, absolutely. Just
or
insane.
Busy Bee even, yeah.
Busy Bee, yeah, exactly.
Remark and Busy, I think back in the day when you listen to their stuff,
Choppage.
They loved it. I mean, we all used to love a bit of chopping on the decks. But I'm going to play this tune. We're going to come back right now. It's Ray Keith. It's Blueprint. It's our very special guest, special request in the building today. Also, we'll talk about the connection with Manchester. We'll talk about R.I.P. Marcus Intalex. Very sad. But also the connection that all of you guys have. You've got Simon Bassline Smith up here. You've got L Double. Yeah. And it's kind of like, it kind of obviously draws to London and also the Midlands as well. But
that's right.
There was a very good network in Mark XTC. All of you guys, do you know what I mean? Like holding that forefront up there and doing what you were doing. I'm going to play this right now. This is Hackney Parrot, special request, VIP, Ray Keith's Blueprint. This is what we do on Fridays between 3 and 5. Live on Facebook. Please run, go tell your friend, and please keep sharing.
Blueprint with Ray Keith.
Do you know what? From start to finish, that tune is banging. And it's got all the little, even when it kills it, asking the listeners right now, do you actually know who that is on the mic? And let them come back with that, because we won't tell them yet on the tune. But, I mean, from start to finish, I think, for me, it kind of captured and it made me think of the old days, even up until We Are E in Astoria, where I just thought, fucking hell, this is a proper fucking raving tune. And people were going to get it. So can you just explain to us how you put it together? Well, and how many of you are there in?
Well, this is a VIP. So it's actually the main body of the track is Ed Tesla. Is he built the original track. What I've done is I've varied it, but I've only varied it in. I've just made it a little bit more intense and added a few more extra bits in it and a few more effects. Added in our friend. I won't go,
Everybody said now GQ because I was like, it's got to be G, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we've heard that from Paradise, obviously lifting that up from the tape packs from back in the day. And it was just very cleverly done the way it came out. And actually, when Fabric sent it to me, I was like, fuck, I've got to play this. And at the time, I was doing a regular show on Origin FM.
Okay.
every Thursday, and mate, every time I played that tune, it just used to pop off.
Oh, wicked!
And
Wicked.
we were saying off camera that it was the same time as the Newham Generals as well.
Yeah.
So that was that kind. And at Carnival, this shit. Listen, I heard one of my mates play this in a pub, and actually he does promo and used to do promo for Radio 1, and he played it, and I was like, what the fuck is this tune? Because it was just rumbling this reggae kind of pub in Carnival, and I was just like, I was with my mate Andy, and I was like, fuck, this tune's bad. I was actually skanking out in a corner. And then I think I got it a couple of weeks later that they sent it to me. So. And also, what samplers did you use for that, or did?
That's all an EMU E4 XT, and it's not even. You know, it's sequenced MIDI. Not even. It's not even. So if you played it with something that's made on a computer, you know that's done properly, all in the box, it will drift. It drifts out. Wow. So it's big. There's chunks of Ed's tune, and then I'm chopping into like the Amen bits that I've added in are just chopping straight across, and it's all, and some of the effects I just put through through another DJ mixer and sampled that. The output of that back through quite a good EQ, and then the EQ into the EMU, and then the literally just MIDI triggering it. So if you know what MIDI's like, if you have more than one event at one time, the timing goes out. So I had to work around that.
It can swing out.
But even though, I mean, that's a ridiculous way to work. But even though it was only about, I think it was about 4 hours. 4 hours of messing around. But, like I say, kudos to Ed, because his original track was so strong that it, I mean, a lot of the power of that version is the EQ, is the bottom end rumble, and just making it punch through a lot more, and But
where did you play it first, and you got a reaction? You thought, fuck, this is going to go off.
Well, where did I play it first? It was in Fabric. It was in Fabric, yeah, and that was it. It's bizarre what happened. I'd been asked to do that mix for a year, and I just, for some reason, I'd not done it. Maybe I didn't have the idea. I think that's what it was. I just didn't have an idea what I was going to do with it. Forgot about it, and then I ended up doing the mix in January. Now at Christmas on Boxing Day that year, this kid comes up to me, and to this day, I've no idea who this kid was. And it was at a gig in Leeds, a really messy, like a Boxing Day party. Everyone that we knew was there. And this kid comes up in a right old pickle. He comes up to me and he just goes, You should have done that remix. And then walked off. and he's going on about, he said a couple of things. You should have done that Tesla mix earlier. And I sort of forgot about it. And then he came up and said it one final time. And it stuck in my mind. And then I was in Fabric, somebody was playing it, and I was behind them, and this is terrible, I can't remember who it was, and I just instinctively, I was looking at it and just wheeled it myself, which is so rude. So whoever you are, I'm sorry.
And that was the first time you heard it?
Well, it was the first time. That was when I realised what to do on the remix, and it was we spend all our lives thinking, how are you going to make the next record? What are you going to make something that's going to, how are we going to do it? A lot of brain space and just doing your own nutting or whatever. And it's taking the studio apart. And it's, a lot of it is just keeping it really, really simple. And it was just that in that instant, I was like, right, so that's all it needs to do. It needs to be accentuated. A few more extra elements, but basically keep it intact. In a weird way, it's almost like, like the old disco remixes of tracks where they barely change them, they just accentuate things, and it's kind of that ethos, but applied to a different genre in a weird way.
And it really works because the way you've done it, it kind of emphasises on things but brings it back. Yeah. So like a typical, I'd say, house record.
Yeah.
It's not changing that much, but there's
That's right.
i.e. Donna Summer, I Feel Love, that type of vibe. It's taking you on a journey but brings you back. Taking you on a journey and bring you back. The other thing I'd like to ask you is, and we ask a lot of producers, artists, DJs who come on the show,
sure, how
do you make a tune? What do you start with?
Oh God, I mean, it depends what you're doing. It depends what the track is. It can start from. I mean, years ago, it would always be drums because I'd always be thinking about the functionality, and now it's very rarely drums. It's the other way. There's always. If it's an idea that I've already got before I go in, which a lot of the time it is, then it'll be it'll be that, whether it's like a little keyboard riff or whatever it is. I'll start with that, and if it's not, if I'm just freewheeling, then I just go in and just start pressing buttons and messing around until you've got something. And occasionally
a bass line or just percussion or anything.
It can be something as bizarre as like a bit of a field recording, like something that you end up taking out later on. The starting point can be something that's not related to the end point. It's so open-ended, as you'll hear later on, because the scope of what Special Request is just widening slowly and slowly. So yeah, you'll hear that as we go along.
Excellent. You know what? I've just been thinking about it, and I think, fuck it, Paul, I'm going to play it again, because I love the tune so fucking much that all of you lot who missed it the first time round are now going to hear it the second time round in its entirety. Because I'm telling you, you know, when I used to go raving and when I used to go record shopping, it was these tunes that you'd look for because you'd want to draw them in the dance, and you knew it was going to be something special. So for those of you who haven't heard it yet, or for those of you who missed it, or for those of you who caught the tail end of it, fuck it, we're going in again.
Blueprint with Ray Keith.
Right, this is Special Request live in the building. Big things right now, I'm telling you. Bigging up everybody that's sharing us on Facebook. We love you right now. Please run, go tell your friend. We're actually going to get in the mix. He's come tooled up. I said, Paul, have you got some jungle tunes? He went to me, mate, I've come tooled up. So that's all good. I absolutely love this tune. I'm telling you, I've played this tune over and over, and I've played it at a whole heap of different places. I'm actually playing in Brighton tonight at Co-Media with Kenny Ken and alongside Brian G. And I think I'm going to play this, you know, just kick the show off with it, because it's just got so much energy. And when I used to listen to it, I was just thinking, yeah, this makes me want to go out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I also wanted to ask you, you've had quite a bit to do with Pirate Radio Station. We were just talking off script then, and saying how important places like this are, because this is now the new age of pirate radio, i.e. on the internet. Mm-hmm. And it's, you know, it's very professional. We're blessed here at Radar, and all the young and youths and youngsters coming through, male and female, whatever you're doing, whether you're a DJ or an MC. And also the studios that we've got here, it's inspiring. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because we're putting something back, and people can kind of come and perform on a level where they feel confident, and it's actually like a club environment.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Tell us a little bit about your experiences with the whole pirate radio thing coming into it.
Well, pirate radio for me, it's. The thing, I've said this before, but it's an important point. It's ironic that when pirate radio stations got busted, a lot of the people who were getting involved were doing community service, because that's exactly what pirate radio is. It's community service. You know, it's providing something for the community, and whether it's what we do, you know, where it's linked to dance music and all the rest of it, or whether it's, you know, sometimes I get in taxis and I'm in Leeds and I'm listening to stations that are coming from you know, different communities that are actually not playing dance music at all. You know, it's all providing a service, and it's something that's not catered for by mainstream channels. So it's something that's important. It really is. It's something that's vital for communities. You know, it keeps communities entertained, and it keeps them connected in a way that's kind of different. I know today everybody thinks that we're all connected because of, you know, iPhones and all the rest of it, but really what's happening is we're more and more isolated, because all we're doing is sitting, scrolling, looking at what everyone else is doing constantly. And I feel that real proper channels and hubs are more important than ever, where people get together like what you've got here. You know, look, everyone's in here thriving, getting on with it, and it's a buzzing environment, you know. And I think this is really, really important today, more than ever.
Yeah, I think sometimes you can just get caught up in just scrolling.
That's it.
And then and it's almost coming like flicking on the TV channel.
Exactly.
And then you'll beam into something that you like, and it's just fucking forever because it's even if people are in the room, they're not communicating, are they? They're like somewhere else, in the virtual world. Do you know what I mean?
Or if you notice it, if you go out for something to eat and you'll see a couple sitting there and they're both looking at the phones, they're not even talking to each other. It's kind of like it's
what
bizarre.
Yeah,
It's like we need to communicate. People need to get together.
I always try and leave my phone on the side, and then I'll go and check it every hour or 2 hours if need be. Yeah. Because otherwise it just takes up your time. If you've got it there, you're going to look at it.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? It's a tough one. Also, I'd like to talk about how you've embraced technology. I mean, talking about emus, Ackeyes, Ataris.
I've been going backwards for a while. Lately I've been sort of updating.
What do you work on, a Mac, a PC?
Nowadays, I'm going between various different sorts of setups. So I'm still involved in hardware. I'm still using emus and I'm still using samplers and hardware. So occasionally I'll do tracks just like that where there's no software involved at all. And then, but for the most part these days, I've been working in a separate way, just using Ableton as the sort of center of it, and then using various bits of software, a lot of software as well, and creating things that are not necessarily dance floor based, but more for different moments.
I just wanted to show everyone, thank you very much for bringing all this for me.
It's a pleasure.
It's really nice to receive some records, people. Look at this. I mean, it's just nice to hold it in my hand. After all these years of working at Black Market Records, I see my boss looking at me going, why haven't I got any? I don't think there's any doubles in here, actually. They're all coming with me. He just took the bag out and went, Ray, these are all for you. I was like, really?
I should have brought more. I should have brought a box. My sincere apologies.
So, people, I'm very, very happy right now because man's got a whole heap of tunes. And that's the other thing. I think people don't realise, which is one of the next records that we're going to plays on the Yellow label. Yeah. And when those tunes came out, you'd go to the record shop Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You were there. You were waiting.
Yeah, like a hound at the counter.
Yeah, and somebody would go, I've got 6 of these. And actually, they'd open up the wrap. You'd see that with the the rubbing of the leg or the chest. The plastic would pop open. He'd put it on. You'd play it, and you wouldn't even know. And then you go, I want one of them.
Yeah, and you had to be quick.
Very quick. So we're going to play that and then go into a couple. Well, the next tune as well after that. I'm looking so forward to because I haven't heard for a long time. Right now, this is special request. This is Ray Keith. This is Blueprint. This is what we do on Friday. Friday's the jungle influences of through the years. And just saying, what was your first jungle rave?
Oh God, it was a Chemistry and Storm gig in Leeds, and it was at a venue that's shut down now, which is just where the train station is in Leeds, just underneath one of the arches there. And it was a really bad venue because it was like a gig venue for kind of indie bands. So the system was
shit.
The system was shite.
Right.
It was atrocious. But the tunes were wicked, so I went down with a mate of mine who had a show on Dream FM in Leeds. She was called Tantra. She used to play really banging techno and a little bit of the Detroit stuff, the more like the early UR stuff and Seawolf and all of that stuff that was pretty banging. But we went down there and it was Chemistry and Storm. And then the second one was Zinc. And Zinc played in the old the venue that used to be the gallery that I mentioned earlier. And I mean, in Leeds we were a distance away from the epicenter, which is here obviously. But there was this very small sort of devoted bunch of people that were into it. So I mean the Zinc gig. There can't have been any more than 100 people there, and Chemistry and Storm, I think there's about 220, something like that. But they were the first times. But it just made me more and more obsessed, even though the systems in both clubs were not equipped for it. But still, it's just so exciting to be in the presence of people that are giving you exactly what you're looking for, and especially when you're that age. Because I think I was. I must have been 19, for both of those gigs.
Taking it there from Leeds,
I won't tell you how old I am now.
Talking about Leeds, and this brings me to Marcus Intalex, R.I.P. I was talking to Groove Rider the other day and just talking to him about, you know, like what had happened, and we were all in shock. And actually, he said to me, Ray, Marcus used to book him for a house night in called After Dark.
Really?
Which was in Leeds.
Right, yeah.
So that was at the very, very beginning, even
Right.
like 88, 89. And that's where, to me, he was like a soul man. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He had that kind of natural soul, house, Detroit feel to the whole thing. Tell us about this tune. Well, how did you meet Marcus Intalex first? Because all you guys are pretty tight.
Yeah, I first met Marcus in what was Eastern Bloc Records in Leeds, because for a period of time, Pete Waterman owned the Eastern Bloc Records. Well, he had a group of record shops all under the name Great Asset, and people talk a lot of nonsense about sort of Stock Aitken and Waterman for that run of appalling pop records, or however you view them. But he was very good at what he did, and what he did with that group of shops is he funded a lot of underground dance music, and he respect to Pete Waterman.
Yeah, you got to give
doing
it to
that.
him.
Yeah.
I mean, when you might not know this, but when Roadblock came out,
oh yeah, it was massive.
Listen, that was like Maceo and the Max Across the Tracks.
That's right. Yeah.
That was like their
and
new
they white
version.
labeled it. They made it look like an import as
Exactly.
well. Yeah,
and you just look, you bought it, and you just thought, what the fuck? And this was massive.
Yeah.
This was a tune that you had to have in your box.
That's right.
A little bit like when I suppose Bros started, if he was a Bros or Brossette, they did the same thing. They did it on a white label, then they did it on an import, and everybody was like,
what's going on?
Yeah, even Rick Astley. Do you know what I mean? That whole, like you're saying, the whole pop thing.
Someone needs to do a Rick Astley VIP. I mean, come on, step up.
So you met him at Eastern
I
Bloc.
met Marcus because he was running the Jungle Counter in Eastern Bloc in Leeds. For a period of time, they had Eastern Bloc in Leeds, and I know for a fact that the reason why Eastern Bloc in Leeds went down was because everyone was taking their absolute piss. They were like, everyone was leaving with carrier bags left, right, and centre. I don't think Marcus would have done that, but I definitely know of a few other individuals that were. But anyway, I'm getting off the point. But I met him there, and the first, and he sold me. I remember I even remember the 3 records that I bought off him. I bought a 12-inch by Plug, and I bought The Angels Fell by Dillinger.
Say no more.
And what else did I buy? And I bought a Wax Doctor 12-inch, and I left that day just staring at the labels, walking home staring at them, just like, oh God, I'm absolutely buzzing. But Marcus, what an incredible human being, an absolute don. I mean, I've got so many unreleased tunes that he sent me that he was so humble with it. His talent was huge, and he was so humble about it. And when he started to do his Trevino project, when he was making, he moved over into
the house thing,
house and techno sort of edges. We were talking about, the first sort of Trevino breakthrough track that he did, and I was saying to him, look, this blows me away because it's kind of, it sounds warehousey, it's got the Detroit edges, but it bangs properly, and it's got soul in it, of course, as everything he did has it. And he just, typically self-deprecating, he just said, it's just a Derek May rip-off, isn't it? And I was like, that's just so Marcus, so
No,
humble.
just tell it how it is, and if it was shit, it was shit. If it was good, it was good. He underrated his stuff. I mean, I remember Ryder playing some tunes at Movement when they first came out, and I was like, what the fuck is this?
Wild, yeah.
It was just pushing the boundaries of the drums, of the arrangement. Amazing. Do you know what I mean? R.I.P. Marcus Intalex, we love you, my friend.
We do.
And his music will live through us and on and keep going on.
Absolutely. I remember the last time I saw him, actually, it was with Lee, DJ Lee.
Okay.
Atlas. And we had a breakfast in the hotel around the corner from, it was after Fabric, one Saturday morning, and we were howling. We were absolutely howling, and it's, I can't, it's hard to put into words, isn't it? When someone's so young as well, it's no age departs. But the last time I saw him, we were howling. He truly, what an incredible human being.
Most definitely, and also I think just representing from where he was, Leeds, Manchester, he helped put that on the map.
He really did.
And also what was great about it is those guys lived in with the music with their integrity. Do you know what I mean? And they did what they felt, not did what they had to do. Do you know what I mean?
That's right.